like a summer with essence. Just steps up your elegant grace. Beauty with brains puts the world in its place. They light the mic, that truth ignites, burning through the fake in the dead of night. Feminism shaking, red pill faking, they're breaking every chain the culture's making. No simps, no saints, no soft disguise. They see through the games and the alibis. They're not here to please, they're here to lead. Truth and balance, that's the creed. No one's a boom. Energy of truth on fire. They're calling out the world's desire. From fake ideals to more decay. They're lighting up the modern age. No one's safe, not the church, not fame. They're flipping the script, rewriting the game. Love and logic, heart and soul, saving the truth for this nation's soul.
Yo,
What's up,
up, Gia?
everyone? What's up,
How you
Glenn?
living?
Ooh, we got a filled, busy week. A lot going
Yeah.
on.
Oh yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna get right into it. I'm just gonna get right into it. Okay.
Let's do it.
You want to know how far this culture has fallen? Now, we have just watched the country that used to storm the beaches to win wars, have a meltdown over the idea of boys having a boy space. I mean, the Pentagon is freaking. The Department of Defense is now debating whether it should cut ties with the Scouts, because Scouting America went all inclusive, being genderless, inclusive, and welcoming all sorts of identities. You can identify as a squirrel and still get in. Translation? Well, boyhood is now offensive. Masculinity is now a problem to be managed. They don't want sons, they want soft, neutered, gender neutral mascots. They could parade in diversity brochures these days. If you still think this is about neckerchiefs and campfires, then you're not paying attention. This is about whether your son is allowed to grow up around men who talk like men, think like men, and well, expect him to one day be a man. Or whether this space he enters gets rewritten, repainted, repackaged until safe enough for corporate HR and feminist Twitter. If the state is this offended by the boys club, what do you think they're going to do to a generation of actual men who refuse to apologize for being masculine? That's what we're talking about today. The war on male spaces, the capture of the Scouts, and why, if you don't start building your own institutions now, well, you're going to be handing your sons over to a system that's trying to erase him
And
before
ladies,
he even becomes dangerous, in a good way, that is.
if that makes you uncomfortable, good, because you cannot claim that you want strong masculine men while choking out male-only spaces. In male-only spaces, this is where men are able to be themselves. They are able to learn how to grow, how to lead. If we take that away from them, then we can't be surprised when we're sitting around saying, where have all the good men gone?
All right, Gia, I got to lay this out. All right. Well, I don't think the people know what we're talking about. So, quick history lesson. Long time ago, okay, in a world far, far away. All right. It was like, all right. And then we'll get the, never mind. Forget the chimes. Moving on. The old Boy Scouts of America announced that they were rebranding. Okay. And that kicked in like earlier this year in February. They became the Scouts on the 115th anniversary of this organization's history. The official line is this: we want to welcome every youth and every family, which sounds pretty gay if you ask me. I'm not even saying nice. It sounds pretty gay. Until you realize what they quietly deleted was actually the word boys. Like, I hate to give people that I don't like credit, but I'm going to give this person credit where credit's due. Rollo Tomasi wrote an article, a blog post back in 2014 called The Removal of the Man, or Erase the Man, right? And how they were removing masculine wording in our language. Like, remember policeman? Now it's police officer. Fireman, fire person, right? Congressman, congressperson. They're trying to been removing the masculine terms away and making this gender neutral thing. And now they're doing it to the scouts. So on top of that, a few years back, they opened the core program to girls. I mean, we already had the Girl Scouts. Now we got the name change plus a co-ed push. All the DEI language, PBS, and all these other places want to feel good about. And here's where it gets hot. Leaked internal documents, NPR have been talking about this, shows that the Department of Defense, the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, is preparing memos to Congress to cut official ties between the Pentagon and the Scouting America. You know what that means? No more military support, which I'm happy for. No more med team, no trucks, no cool demos, no troop meetings on the bases, none of that, which I personally am okay with. Probably killing enlistment perks for the Eagle Scouts that used to help recruit in New York. And those draft memos, he ripped the Scouting America for becoming genderless, for attacking boy-friendly spaces and pushing DEI. And that's not a Twitter rumor. That's a text that NPR and multiple outlets say they saw.
So, you just to say this kind of in normal people language, you thought you're signing your son up for leadership skills in the Boy Scouts. And really now the Secretary of Defense is looking for the same organization and saying, this isn't a boy to man pipeline anymore. This is a gender neutral DEI youth brand. And we don't want the military used as a backup for it. And if you're a military family like I am, you move base to base. Your kids finally find a troop on base. And now over ideology, that might get ripped away too.
Exactly. Like, this is what's so crazy about it. This isn't like a little local dispute with a scoutmaster, okay? Like, this is a century-long relationship. The scouts and the military have been like tied together for over 100 years, suddenly being put to the chopping block because people want to charge, can't even say this is for boys without flinching. Like, underneath this, the real question is, do boys get to have anything that belongs to just boys anymore? I mean, or
It's funny. It's funny that you said that because if you look up what boy only spaces there are, no joke. I mean, everything is co-ed now. You got like not just the Boy Scouts doing this. You got Little League baseball, you got Pop Warner football,
yeah.
you got youth wrestling clubs, you got boxing gyms, karate, taekwondo, martial arts, the ROTC, the Junior Police Explorers, YMCA, even the church clubs. You got even public school competitions, summer camps, fraternities. They're all co-ed now. And when you look at like what's left, there really is nothing. I think there's like one or two things left to boys only, and even they get heat. That's how bad this is.
It is bad. So let me talk about why male spaces exist in the first place. Well, ladies, you're saying, where are all the real men at? Well, we were making them until you invaded their spaces. Okay, let's call it what it is. Boys don't develop like girls. They don't bond like girls. They don't respect like girls. Healthy male spaces has its own ecosystem. We play rough, wrestle, sparring, jousting. There's a hierarchy there. Somebody's the best, somebody's the worst, and everyone who knows it. There's correction. You mouth off, you get checked. That's the way it is.
Yeah, and it's like male only spaces and brotherhoods. They serve for so many different purposes for men, right? They serve as an
Mm-hmm.
emotional and social infrastructure for men. Men are more likely to get some benefit from mixed gender friendships in an area where masculinity norms discourage emotional vulnerability. Male friendships gives permission for men to be emotionally real and supportive. Like when you see how men move, together, they can be themselves. When a woman comes in, they automatically are changing their pitch, their tone, their speech. This has an effect on them. When they have the circle of men that they can trust, they're more likely to stay physically active, mentally stable, emotionally resistant. They avoid harmful isolation, destructive coping. Like there's so many reasons why brotherhoods and male only spaces need to be thriving.
Yeah, like what's even crazy about this is that, there was a time that we had men had rites of passages, right? And that's where like the community of men would acknowledge you as a man. But that means you earned that privilege. You showed them that you were a man. I mean, nowadays these guys can't even do that because, well, there's no male only spaces. Everybody gets a participation trophy now.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Where am I? What
um,
did I miss?
let me actually pull up this video real quick. But before I get there, you don't get warriors out of co-ed daycare. I'm just sorry, you don't, right? Um, when you get confusion, you get fragile adult males with no mission, no edge. And that's why the scout matter is really a lot in this whole conversation.
Mm.
Because they used to be able to help young men become boys of mission, boys of purpose, right? And a lot of these young guys would either join the military or they would take the discipline that they learned in the scouts and they would apply it to other areas of their life. You
Mhm.
know, um, I got a video here that you sent me earlier.
Yeah, well,
Um,
let's watch that.
okay.
The more he is undisputed in his sphere of influence from the very start. And the more feminine a woman is, the more her own work and thus her own position is conversely uncontested and undisputed. And the mutual respect of the sexes for each other will ultimately not be achieved by the rules set up by two different formations, i.e. the formation of men and the formation of women. Instead, it must be acquired day by day in real life. The more a man is faced with a woman who is truly female, the more his arrogance will be disarmed from the very beginning, so disarmed that at times it might be unbearable. And conversely, the more a man is a whole man and carries out his work and his life task in the highest sense of the word, the more the woman will find her natural and self-evident place beside him. In this constellation, the two can never cross each other on their life paths. They will instead join one another in a wholly shared great mission. The more masculine a man is, the more he is
That was good.
You know, I think women need to hear this because this video is talking about the importance of the roles, right? Like,
Mhm.
you can't want an end product, which is this leader provider that women always want, right? They're always talking about he needs to lead, he needs to provide. You can't want that end product without expecting the process. You can't
Yeah.
say to men, carry the weight of the family, stand up for the world, protect you and the kids, lead in chaos, but then you want him raised on a pattern emotional nursery. You know, you want no yelling, no competing, no toxic banner, no harsh feedback, no exclusion. You want everyone to get their roles. Well, then you have to respect, what men need, their needs. Again, we're down to that same
Yeah.
thing. Like when I look up how many female spaces there are, like I can name just
They're
a few of them,
everywhere.
right? They're like Girls Who Code, Girls on the Run, the GOTR, girls sports clubs, girls empowerment, the STEM camps. You got girls only coding on robotic clubs, leadership retreats. You got female only debates, public speaking clubs. I mean, I could go on forever, right? But then when you do the same thing and you look for what men, there is none. It's like they're literally taking over. And it reminds me, this is what it reminds me of. It reminds me of, like you see a little boy and a little girl playing together,
Mhm.
and she doesn't like the fact that he's busy and interested in that toy. So what does she
Oh
do,
yeah.
right? She takes it away. She pulls the toy and she takes it away. And that's what when I see this going on, this is what I think of. It's like these women could care less about what he likes. It's not about what they're making it out to be. It's about the fact that they're taking away what a man enjoys to do, right? Because it's not a focus on them. It's
Well, yeah, I
it's
mean that's
it's
what
very bad.
women do, right?
Mhm.
Like women hear men having fun, they're like, oh, we gotta shut that shit down, you know.
Exactly.
And I say that
Exactly.
jokingly, but it's kind of true though,
Yeah.
you know. It's funny that
They smother
it,
every piece of a man's environment and,
well, yeah, they neuter it. They neuter
Mhm.
it. Um, I want to get into this next part here because what they don't understand is like getting rid of these spaces, it actually destroys like the warrior ethos that American men used to have, our young men used to have. We had this like fight in us, you know. We had this gusto. You didn't mess with American. You know what? We would go to war. We will battle it out. We had that true grit, that fighters, like, you know what I mean, like that drive. And when you neuter the male spaces where the guys are not able to challenge each other in a way that is healthy for their gender, it's not healthy for women to be challenged in this manner. Okay, I want that to be clear, but it's definitely healthy for young men to be challenged in this manner. And when you don't do that, you're really crippling your young boys. You're also crippling your future warriors and the people that you expect and you are going to rely on to defend this nation. And what that means is it destroys the warrior ethos. And
Mhm.
that they don't realize how dangerous and how costly that's going to be in the long run. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You take away the uniqueness of each roles, right? Or
Mm,
how a female operates and how male. You take away that mystery that that want to know the other person. Now you start, believing in this equality, which isn't reality.
yeah,
Um,
it's a false lie.
Like you could even like when you do the research and you look at exactly what is taught in the Girl Scouts versus what's taught in the Boy Scouts, it's two completely different things, right? You got sewing, you got socializing, you got selling cookies for the girls, and then you look to the guys, and it's like learning how to change a tire, learning how to build a fire, all the things that
Yep.
really are like essential for boys to learn is being taken away. So how is that going to change the curriculum now that they're co-ed?
Well, it kind of sucks. I mean, maybe, but here's the thing. They still have the Girl Scouts.
Yeah,
They
sure
didn't. They
do.
didn't like. They didn't like collaborate and then you know, get rid of the Girl Scouts. No, the Girl Scouts are still very much here. The
Hmm.
Boy Scouts just got co-opted.
Yeah, but they
It's
they also
wild.
took away the name Brownie. Do you remember Brownies?
Oh, that was like the little girls.
They removed the name because they thought it was racist. Like this is where everything is turning woke. No joke.
Wait
Like
a
we
minute.
are so sensitive about every little thing. They've changed. Think about everything. Anything that like implies black, they remove.
I'm wondering what was racist about being called a brownie.
That's what they thought. They thought it was like implied something. So they took it, they got rid of it. Isn't that crazy? It's like people are so sensitive about everything. It's just ridiculous.
I don't even know where to begin. So, um, real quick, I'm going to show you this. So it's funny because we were talking about the warrior ethos. I just mentioned the warrior ethos, right? And it reminded me of Thor's last book that is
Mm.
that we published for him. And I'm going to share it here with you real quick because this is the book that I helped him publish, and I did the artwork and everything. But this is with him and Wraith Deantor, a good friend of mine. And the last book that they did, that Thor's a credit to, is called "The Essential Skill of a Masculine Presence." Um, the perspicacity, the warrior ethos, right? And this is it's crazy because this is what is missing right now in society is
Mhm.
the warrior ethos in men. It's a great book. I encourage a lot of guys to read it because what they do is they went through history. What did it take for those men in history, whether it's the Viking or the Japanese warrior, or it's the Knights Templar or the Musketeer, all the way to the U.S. Navy SEAL? There's something that all of them share, right? They all
Yeah.
have something in common, and it's those things, those characteristics and traits that makes them the warrior. You know, um, so it's a really interesting book. I encourage you guys to check it out. But back to the message here. When What are we really signaling when we say that boys don't have an opportunity for their own place? What are we saying?
That boyhood is no longer the center of the mission.
Yeah,
Being a man, being a masculine man is no longer the mission. That's what we're saying.
yeah, and it's like, what's gonna happen when it's almost like if we're not pushing our young men to already be, trannies, I mean, I'm not trying to say like that's what they're doing, but in a way, we're culturally accepting this level of
That is
androgyny.
that is
It's a
what we're
level of
doing.
androgyny, right? Like, being neutral, gender neutral, anybody could do this. That right there is androgyny,
Yeah, redefining the identity. Hmm.
or making it so difficult to define what the identity is. You know, there used to be, we used to be boys to men merit-based pipelines. Like, like I remember, going through like certain like courses of leadership training, right? And you couldn't level up until the other leaders viewed you as worthy to be equal to them. I remember when I was I was in the military, and I was becoming an NCO. That's a non-commissioned officer, right? And they, you have a course you have to go through, some leadership training and everything. But there was maybe a little hazing. But the hazing was good. It was good hazing, But you had to prove not yourself, just yourself, but you had to prove to the other senior enlisted officers that you are worthy of being considered an NCO. And if they didn't deem you worthy, I mean, you're gonna have to earn it. And it's like when you finally get through the whole thing, it's just like they looked at you no longer like you don't look up to them so much. I mean, you do in their rank, but they look at you as an equal. Like, I see you as a brother. I see you now as a man. We need more of those spaces. We need these spaces from a very young age. And that's what the Scouts provided, for a really long time. That's what the Scouts did for a lot of these young boys.
Yeah, I remember taking my son to these outings, to these events. Like when I have all these notifications coming off. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, and like when I hear other mothers talk about it, right? Like you can hear their emotional plea, like, oh, I wanted my
Mhm.
daughter to do the same cool stuff as all the boys, right? Or you hear the girls, like the girls in Girl Scouts, oh, I want to do more of the fun, exciting stuff that the boys are doing. Like I hear this. And I mean, okay, you can sympathize with that. But I even think it's deeper than that. I think it's about greed personally. I mean, I think this is
Mm.
where we're really going here. Like they wanted, I mean, it makes sense. Think about it. Economically driven to bring girls into these groups because now they can get parents to be like, oh, now, I'll just drop my kid. Now I don't have two separate things. Oh, I can bring all my kids and drop them off at once. Like it's like it's this
Mm.
whole kind of I see it in every federation. Like I'm even seeing it
Well,
in
I mean, I can
bodybuilding.
see that. I could totally see that, like where it's like,
They're
well,
trying
I
to
don't want
make
to
it
drop
like
her off at ballet and drop him off at scouts,
now,
you
yes.
know?
Let's just it's like easier for everybody. It's also more money for the federations. Like when I see like bodybuilding federations, they're opening up all these new divisions. Like they just opened up the fit model division. And I'm like, really? Like that's like an OnlyFans for bodybuilding, basically. Okay. You don't have to
We
do
got
anything, you
OF
just
for
step on stage.
bodybuilding now?
I mean, you don't have to really do any bodybuilding. It's like literally like the average
Is it
everyday
like
girl
the
puts on a bikini and she can enter the stage, right? So like that's what I think of when I see these co-ed things. Like YMCA is doing it. Like why is
Mm.
everybody jumping on the bandwagon? Because they're thinking more money in my pocket. Like why keep things exclusive? Why, why do that when that's less money in my pocket? You get
Wait a minute. I need to know about this new bodybuilding division, okay?
it?
Because
It's
uh
pretty
I,
funny.
I actually judged a non like sanctioned um fitness competition, right? And they were trying to make it to be as close as, like, I guess, to NPC as possible. At least that's how they try
Yeah.
to market it. It was kind of like Girls Gone Wild meets fitness bikini, right? And I mean, we had girls showing up in micro bikinis trying to do these poses. And I was like, so I'm thinking that's probably the division that you were talking about that they just started. I might have been the original judge that actually was part of it. It was happened a long time ago. It was in Washington. I didn't have a problem with it.
Like when I started, okay, so I started in the WBFF
Okay.
Federation before I moved over to IFBB.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was in WBFF, IFBB looked at WBFF like it was like a beauty pageant. No one took it seriously. You know, the girls
Yeah.
that were in there could just be like any girl who puts on a bikini. So that's one of the reasons why I moved out of there and went over to NPC and went over to IFBB, because it was more of a serious bodybuilding
Yep.
competition. And as over time, I've noticed this, that they need to get in the everyday person. They need to appease the masses,
Well, that's the only
because
way
the
you open
more,
the market.
it's the only way you scale. So
Yeah.
all of these more exclusive tiny groups are dying out. I mean, you can see this even in our artists, like our entertainment industry. Like every industry this is happening everywhere. They
Well,
need
and
to
you,
monetize.
it's sad because you're right, because they're taking away the art and the dedication that actually takes to be good in these arenas. Like
That's it.
you know, if they're now making a class for OnlyFans, we're gonna call it the 304 class. All right. 304 division A, group A, please come out. You know,
Any girl next
um,
door can put on a bikini and step on stage
yeah.
and get a trophy. And that's what we're doing everywhere. Like even on Twitter, even on social media, anybody is now looked at like a content creator. Anybody can be an influencer. We can say the dumbest shit. We can say any lie we want. And what? Oh, that's what makes money. That's what's
Well, I
making money.
mean,
Why?
I kind of like
Look,
saying the dumb shit that I say. You know, it's kind of fun though. You
no,
know.
but like, okay, like I'm happy about the stuff that they just like in Twitter, they just opened up that new thing where you can see where the content creator is tweeting from, right? I think like you can see if they're coming from India or Pakistan.
I
I
didn't
think
know
that's
that.
a,
Oh, so they track your
yeah.
location too?
Now you can go on any bio in Twitter,
Oh,
go
I'm
on
turning
any
it on
bio
my
you want,
VPN.
and go up to the little arrow and you can see where they're from. Okay. So this is a good thing, because if you now you start realizing that all these pages that claim to be coaches, or
Oh,
now you know half of these people, these Annans, are coming from Pakistan, India. Like, I mean, they can say whatever they want.
oh, talking about coaches. Did you hear about? And this is like another topic. Did you hear about Justin Mark?
No, I don't even know who that is.
So he's a popular like dating coach in Toronto.
Mm.
He just got hit with SA. We could talk about that another day, but it's gonna be a topic we need to cover. Um, you know,
What
I want
happened?
he got popped with for an SA charge.
Ooh.
We'll talk about it, you know, later in another
Okay.
episode. But we'll cover it soon. You know what's crazy about like the whole reality of this, right? You see, anytime men say, "Hey, this one is for us," like
Mm.
you know, I like going to cigar lounges. I enjoy cigar lounges. I enjoy like speakeasy cigar lounges. I like the ones that are hidden, right? Those are
Mhm.
the ones that women should not be able to find, right? But
Yeah,
y'all still
my
find them. I
husband
don't know how you guys do this shit. Somebody's a
my husband
snitch.
goes with his boys all the time and does that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like I used to go to them, and there would never be women. It would just be a couple group of guys, the older guys, you know, reading books, or we're just talking about whatever, right? And having a cigar. And now every time I go, there's at least 3 or 4 women there that they're not supposed to know the secret squirrel club's, you know, spots. Like this is not a he-man woman haters club, but this is a man only man's club. But they infiltrate it, right? So I mean,
And you know, when you say stuff like this, like when girls hear any guy complaining that women are ruining their spaces, right? The first thing a woman thinks is, why? Why are they being like that? Like they don't understand that this is happening on such a large level, that we are literally declaring that being boy focused or being man focused is now no longer cultural accepted. Like most women are not aware as to the extent of why this is a problem, because they're not up on world events.
you know what? It's like this. Um, I was never allowed to hang out at my house when my mom was running her pampered chef parties, right? That was a woman only space.
Mhm.
Or when you know those sex club toys, you know, where the ladies was like talk about all the sex toys and they all do it at one house. It's like a Tupperware show, but with Tupperware is not the Tupperware. It goes somewhere, you know, where the sun don't shine. Okay, we guys are not allowed to be there. We're not allowed to be at these naughty parties,
Growing
right?
up, growing up as a teenager, if my brothers had guy friends over, my mom would take me to somebody from the congregation or church. I was not allowed to be around them. Like I don't
Yeah.
to me, this is just a normal thing, and I don't understand why this is well, I do understand what they're doing. They're trying to weaken men is what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's sad because boys clubs now are equal misogyny, and male only spaces, that's just guaranteed abuse. Okay, like that's the abuse network basically. Men gathering without women present must mean they're planning something evil. They're try to take over us, ladies. We can't let them have fun. We don't
Or
want to
they'll
hear
say
fun.
they'll say it's misogyny or something. That's like
Yeah.
the go-to, shaming technique.
Nobody asks the simple question though. It's like, what's the code inside that space? Because
Mm.
there's two very different types of male environments. Okay. One, a healthy male space. There's a mission there. There's a code of honor and ethic. There's loyalty. Yeah, hard joking, but there's also some real accountability. You get called out for when you're out of line. Older men put younger men, up, like making them level up. Then there's the second one, the degenerate male space, right? They have no mission, they have no code, just a bunch of vices, they're instant gratification, and they like the escape. They burn down the first type because, well, you're scared of what the second type is too stupid of. So you don't fix toxic masculinity by destroying healthy masculinity. If I want to even concede that there is something called toxic masculinity, because I don't necessarily believe that, but if there is going to be this brand of toxic masculinity, I would probably label it as like an evil patriarchal, kind of guy, right? So we'll say that you don't destroy toxic masculinity by destroying the good masculinity. You need that good masculinity. And if we can't have a space where we could foster that for these young men, ladies, I feel sorry for you. Because if you're already asking where the real men at, and you already find them scarce and few and far in between, keep on destroying these male spaces. You're not going to have any real men, you know? So, I mean, you shove boys into even worse places like Discord and these like chat groups, servers full of porn and nihilism, black pills, forums or gangs, or even worse, the radical online echo chambers. Like we see some of the reaction of these radical online echo chambers in the chats, in these spaces that we go on, even on TikTok or Twitter, in the comment section. Like it's ridiculous. And if we don't have a place just for men, it gets dangerous, it gets sexist, and then that gets toxic.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to be real about the female side of this because I am a woman, and a lot of women don't actually want equality. They don't want it. Like they want control. That's really what they're after. Like they want to be in every room and every male space because not just physically, even digitally, because why? They want to know like what are they talking about? What am I missing out on? What is he saying? What does the group chat look like? It's always about like FOMO. Like I think
Mm.
it's even about wanting full disclosure and not being left out in anything. It's almost like it's almost it is entitlement. That's what it is.
It's very much entitlement. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's like ladies don't want full disclosure. We
Yeah.
really don't.
And I mean, the idea of your man or your son being in a men only environment audibly making you panic, you need to ask yourself, like, this is not about safety. This has nothing to do with that. This is about you wanting control. Like if it's bothering you, if that triggers you, you need to be asking yourself what that problem is because it's not about them, it's about you.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's like, you know, they think that anytime guys gather together, there's hoes. I don't know why ladies think that, like, if we are gonna have poker night, right, that there's gonna be hoes there. Where do you girls get that in your mind? Because you know what I think, like, when you think like that with no reason or no warranted reason, it's because you want males. You guys want some strippers at your events, or you guys are going to the happy, bear stripper club or something, or dancing bear. That's what it is. Do you think that's what it is? Is like is it more projection?
Yeah, I think there is definitely that there is some women that have that issue, like they're not trustworthy themselves, so they project that onto them. But I think there's a lot of different other things going on. One, entitlement, one, not, wanting to have full disclosure, not wanting to be left out. This fear of FOMO, depending on the upbringing or how they were raised. Like if they were always to be included with everything, like that's why I don't even get into holidays and all that, because it's like that builds entitlement on from a child to an adult. Like if they're always thinking they need to be included in things, they need to receive everything that's happening, invited to everything. I can remember growing up and I would have girls mad because they weren't invited to things. And I thought that was so silly. I think this all stems from the same place.
Well, you mentioned something about that because I remember when just started like the men's space, like the men's group that I was helping Thor with, and I remember the woman I was with at the time, she had an issue because my phone kept on blowing up. And she's like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "Well, it's the guys from the community. And they're reaching out, like looking for, advice or whatever. And she had an issue with that. Like the phone would go off and I'm responding to them. And it wasn't like I was,
Mm.
like on there just chatting the whole damn time. It was like, I'm just like responding, answering questions or whatever, doing what I'm supposed to do. And she's like, "Let me see." And I was like, "No." I was like, "This is a conversation in confidence. I'm not gonna, break their confidence because you feel a certain way that you're not invited in this, this Twitter group, or not Twitter group. It was a Telegram group. You don't need to be included in everything." And this is this level of entitlement, feeling like, well, wherever you should go, I should go. Whatever you're into, I should be into. I should be
It's
able to get
also,
access in
yeah,
there.
it's a lack of trust, it's an insecurity. A lot of these women, don't have a lot of trust, they haven't learned to build respect and earn it themselves, so they
Mhm.
can't, they don't see it in other people, they don't know boundaries, there's so many things behind it. But I want
And
to
you know what?
actually
It was like a shit test, like because it lasted for about
mm,
like she did it like 2 to 3 times. And when she realized like there was no budging and I was so unapologetic with it, like I just didn't give a fuck whether she was mad or not about it. Like it just was, that was my hard line, you know. And she
there you
eventually got
go.
over it.
Yeah, if you
But
if
you know
you
what?
addressed it immediately.
There was a Kevin Hart talks about this, thing about women and men's spaces, real quick. I want to play it real for you. What do you think?
I know women. You know, I can break women down, man. You know what? I'm gonna tell you guys something that you're not gonna like, but you need to hear it. You need to hear it. Not one woman in this room likes for her man to have a good time when she's not around. Not one. It's a true statement. I see some of y'all looking at me with an attitude. Some of y'all are giving me attitude. Not true. I don't care. Have fun. Shut up. Kill yourself. Let me tell you why. No, just listen. Let me tell you why I feel like this, okay? I don't say anything that I cannot prove. That's your lady right there, right? If I'm wrong, sweetie, tell me I'm wrong, okay? You ever been out with your boys? You with your boys. You ain't doing nothing wrong. You and your boys. Ain't no women around. You're having a good time with your boys. She call you while you out. When you pick up the phone, she hears fun in the background. That's why they get an attitude, because she hear fun. Because you picked up the phone having a good time. Hey, shut up, Steve. Hey, no, hey, I ain't gonna take another shot. No, hey. Yo, yeah, I swear to God, it was like the best night of my life. I swear to God. Hey, what's up, babe? You know what? Nothing. Do you? I don't got time for this.
Tell me, how true is that?
It's very true. It's very true. But, like women who have that problem are dealing
Mhm.
with a lot of insecurities. A
Mm.
lot of, okay, everybody deals with insecurities. Let's just say it like it is. Everybody
Yeah.
has insecurities, but there is degrees. And I
Yeah, I
kind
was
of
gonna
do it
say
from
there's degrees to it,
I
right?
have like a scale from 1 to 10, And I think that when a child is raised in a two-parent household that's taught boundaries with a strong male leader and a feminine mother, that child is usually very well adjusted and usually can handle, boundaries well, can be because they've been taught, no is no. They've been taught how to handle certain things, and they've also been taught to accomplish goals and achieve it. So they have that inner, they feel good about themselves, they feel capable. But when a child is raised in a single parent household with no boundaries, and they're kind of taught to almost be the adult in that
Mm.
environment, they're very insecure. So it can come out, there's different attachment styles, avoidant attachment, there's different type of attachment styles. But usually if she has a problem with you, not, not hanging out with her every single second, or you're having fun, or your eyes light up when it's not around her, this is not a person in a secure attachment. This is usually somebody in a anxious, fearful, even avoidant attachment. So they're going to have issues. And I think that that's like a sure sign. That's why I say no often, especially just meeting a girl. Like, let's say you just start dating her, tell her no, test her out. Like, tell her you can't show up one day, just see how she reacts. Hey, I had something
Mhm.
come up. Or, these tests immediately early on before you commit to her are going to tell you how she's going to react. If she gets bent out of shape, if she starts calling you names, if she does the whole like now weaponizes attention and affection, these are
Mhm.
really, really big red flags you need to look out for.
Oh, see, like I have a rule. Number one rule. And the minute that you start calling each other out of your name, you start calling each other names, there's no respect there. And
Mhm.
I can't be with somebody that I don't respect. So if I ever get with somebody and I go, bitch, like, oh, that's it. I can't even call a woman bitch that I'm with, because if I say that, that's me disrespecting you. And if I can't be with somebody that I don't respect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but the problem is not really men not gathering without women. You know what it is? The real root of the problem is men gathering without a purpose. And when there's
Mhm.
women around, there's tends to be no purpose. Because, like, figure this out. When women are part of the gathering, it's not for anything constructive. Like, women gather just to gossip and bullshit. Men tend
Yeah,
to
but
gather.
okay. But men understand hierarchy better. Men
Yes.
understand chain of command better. Okay. So this goes
Yeah.
into everything. This goes into group settings. This goes into
Yeah.
relationships. Women don't do well in hierarchy. They're not taught chain of command. And because of this, if a man goes and has fun without her, or has something that he enjoys without her, this upsets her emotional hierarchy because she doesn't understand it. She thinks that you're taking away her attention. You're taking away attention from me. You're taking away things from me. And she doesn't understand that she's not at the top of the hierarchy. Like, this is not
Yeah.
me first. And that's why I say it's so important how you raise your kids, because a lot of this comes down to bad parenting
Oh,
and not
all of it
teaching a
comes down
chain
to
of
bad
command.
parenting.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's like, but how can you? This is what I don't understand with these women. How could I be taking away something from you that you never had? You never had the time. Actually, I'm giving you attention when I give it to you. That is a gift. If you think I'm taking something away from you that is yours, which is attention, then you have it asked backwards, because you never had my attention fully. You are granted my attention when I give it to you, right? So, what I think is really important is that men need to gather still. We still need to gather, but we don't need to gather just for no reason. Okay, we need to gather for purpose. And like in a lot of these discords and a lot of these different chat groups and these, spaces, there are men gathering and they're talking, but it's not actionable. Like, nobody's taking like they're complaining about this, or they're complaining about that, or they're coming up with what they think is a solution for something, but none of them are taking that into action or holding each other accountable for the action that they said they're going to be taking. So what we need
It's
is
tricky.
less toxicity in these spaces, because
Hmm.
a lot of these coaches in these spaces make it toxic. You got this group hating this group. You like this creator, then I'm gonna hate you, right? That's part of the toxicity, gossipingness, that what I call the Mean Girls Club of the manosphere.
Well, think about it like this: women are the ones to get together in groups and talk.
Yeah.
So, podcasts with a bunch of men getting together talking is emulating that. It's sitting around talking. They're not doing. That's why I always say it's always better when you can get together in real life and actually do things together.
Oh yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
my husband gets together with his brothers, he is not sitting around and talking. He's actually learning things that are going to help you in the tactical world or even in survival skills. And I think that
Oh yeah.
this is one of the reasons why this Boy Scouts is so alarming, because we are taking that away from our boys and ultimately our men.
Oh yeah. And like, what's his name? Pete Headsets is right on this. So, Gia,
Yeah, let's
when
talk about that. What is he right on? Like, what was he getting into?
so like the scouting of America clearly shifts the direction, right?
Mhm.
From training boys to become men through merit and masculine values to serving all DEI youth. That is participation trophy just for showing up. That's female trait, because it's like Oprah, right? You get a participation trophy.
Right.
You get a just for showing up. The Boy Scouts, you had to earn that next ribbon. You had to earn your next badge. You had to show that you were worthy, that you met the threshold and the standard to be honored by wearing that new ribbon. And you could actually lose it by your behavior and not become behaving someone of worthiness of that ribbon, right? So if you look at it from his perspective, the DEI, you're all inclusive, everybody gets a trophy. That doesn't help us cultivate future warriors. He's
Right.
looking at it from a military standpoint. I mean, he is what the is it the Department of War now, the Secretary
Mhm.
of War, right?
Yeah.
He's looking at it from a military standpoint. If our young men are going here, they're not going to be getting the basic information on merit and earning your place through merit, through your work ethic, right? That doesn't really give us a future, crop of warriors that we could actually trust to defend this nation if everybody thinks that they deserve this participation trophy, right? And so where does this line up in the world, in the worldwide, culture things? Do you think the Taliban and our enemies are giving out participation trophies? No, they're making their soldiers, fight and earn it.
Yeah.
So when we have this genderlessness going around with, especially with our young men, that's gender confusion in a sense without the transitioning.
And
It's
it's funny that you said that, because even the military has been allowing a slow creep there as
Mhm.
well. And I know, like, my husband, he's a veteran, and he always talks about how things are not what they used to be, like even in the training.
Yeah. I remember when I was in basic training, like my TI, they couldn't hit me. They couldn't hit you. They couldn't physically touch you.
Mm.
But they would try to say the meanest things to break you down, right? And see, like, I don't think they were prepared for me. Because none of them grew up in my home. I was like, my mom said some of the most wildest, craziest, mean things. I was like, so them telling me I smell like a dirty giraffe or something, I was like, this is funny. This is cute. They actually made me lock myself in my own wall locker and put coins in there and make me be their jukebox because I always was humming music, as we were doing work. And but so this is where, like, it's hard. Let's draw the whole line in the sand, right?
Yeah.
We are not loaning the U.S. military to a backdrop of an organization that's going to embarrass boyhood, because we need that boyhood to become manhood, and we need strong men in our military. We need strong men in our society. We need strong men to be leaders. And I agree with him. I'm not going to support an organization that is basically emasculating our future leaders before they even become adults, you know? But here's the con in all this, because there are always a pros and cons. So there's a con.
Hmm.
There are real troops and families who still, try to run the scout units old school, the traditional way, merit based, and they get caught in the crossfire and all this. So as much as, like, I understand what Pete's doing and not supporting the organization as a whole, right? But that does leave out these small fractions within the Boy Scout community that are still trying to do it the traditional way. And that's problematic, right? Boys lose the jamboree support, the base access, the perks, and even if their local troop was still doing things the right way, it's not so clean, it's messy. Like they get caught in the crosshairs. So
I'm gonna push you a little bit, Glenn, because I do agree with the core issue. We need unapologetic male spaces. I absolutely agree with you. But
mhm,
if you blow up that bridge, okay, you still owe that 12-year-old boy a plan B. So if the
yeah,
military walks away from Scouting America, what replaces the structure in his life? What replaces it next week, a year from now? Like, are men actually ready to for these parallel institutions, or are
mm,
churches and communities ready to step in, or is this just some other case of like where you burn something down and post a bunch of spicy clips on social media and then that kid gets nothing in return? No trope,
yeah.
no outings, no older mentors, just more from online hate, basically. Like, how do you handle that?
That's actually some fair criticism, and we already seen like a really like need for mentors, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. Um, and this is where I'm gonna take it back on men. Look, we can't keep sitting here whining and bitching about woke scouts and woke schools and woke churches if we're not willing to build anything ourselves. You know, Thor started this with the men's club. The Sons of Thor. He said, "Okay, I'm not going to bitch about it. We're going to form our own community and we're going to sharpen each other up." And then when he passed it on to me, I'm taking on that same responsibility and doing the same thing. Right. So here's the real path. Right. Option one, parallel structure. Men can get serious and build, explicitly. Boys only, merit based, faith anchored or a value anchored, program. Like grid. Good one, right?
Hmm.
His son, his oldest son, still does these crazy like scout things, right? Even though the scouts are, disbanded. His son went all the way up to like Canada last summer, and he had to hike and then canoe down some long ass river. He was gone like 2 weeks. They flew him out there, and then he had to canoe all the way back down like to the state line basically, and then. Not too long ago, he went hiking in New Mexico, all the way to like one of the highest like points in New Mexico, just a backpack and what they could carry in their backpack. Like they had to be able to bring enough clothes in that backpack, their food, their sleeping material. They had to have a Swiss Army knife or something. Like there are still programs that are like that, and dads are supporting it. So, and I think
Hmm.
the dads are the ones are running that. I think it's not even through the scouts. Okay, so or you can do option two, right? A traditionalist, pocket size inside the scouts. Some guys are going to say, well, screw the branding. My troop is still going to be man focused and culture. Not ideal, but you're still under the corporate umbrella. But some will play that game. Now, option three, even if your kids is in the Scouting America, you don't need to treat it as if it's the primary formation. You're the layer, you're the tool, like you're the parent. So you could teach them martial arts, get them in like some men's church program, right? Or father-son groups. How about dads start doing father-son groups? Create their own, right? Or find a local men mentor if your dad is not around, or if your husband is not around in the picture. Maybe he lost his life, or you're divorced, you're a single mom. You still need to get your son in these male only spaces around men. So if the Secretary of War cuts ties, it will be loud and messy. But honestly, it's also a wake up call, Gia.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line for me, you cannot outsource your, you cannot outsource boyhood anymore. You literally have to be an engaged parent. You can't expect other people to raise your son or to, make your son a man. You have to take a proactive approach. Drop your son off at whatever youth program has the best. You can't just like go by what they're telling you on the brochure. Like actually look at it, be engaged, be there. Never there's a lot of people that like will never ask what they're being taught, right? They'll just go, "Oh, it looks good," and they'll just drop their kids off. No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And then they're shocked why they get the kid back and he's ashamed of being a boy, or he comes up one day and he says, "Oh, mom, I think I'm a girl." Like we have to be, I say this with everything, like even picky eaters. No,
Yeah.
that's a parenting problem, or like I hear the argument about ban pornography ban. No, you know what? We know what happens when you ban things. Like we keep outsourcing and waiting for other people to take away and put restrictions. What about as parents? We don't let them have that phone, that iPad. Like, what if we
Yep.
don't let them? Like, I didn't even let my own son have his own phone until he could afford it. Like, what happened to
Yeah.
those parents?
You know what? I made my son pay for his damn cell phone.
Yeah.
So
So
like
you just can't
he
sit
got an
back and
allowance.
wait for people anymore. You have to take a proactive approach.
Yeah, I remember he earned an allowance, and I give him a bill every month. It was a fraction of what his cell phone cost, but I wanted him to understand that everything costs something, that he has to earn this. This is not a right. This is a privilege. But
Exactly.
let me land this with some actionable advice, because this is what we like to do. We like to give some action plans. So if you're a man, a dad, a pastor, a coach, this part's for you. First, you need to stop bitching and act like a man. Okay. I think we got that one out of the way. Um, Start a men's group for yourself. Just hook up with a couple buddies on the weekends, go get coffee, maybe an hour, you know, call each other out, sharpen each other up, hold each other to a standard. Lift together, go to the gym, have your Saturday morning men's workout with you and a couple buddies. Do some skill building, outdoors, self-defense, trades, finances. Hold each other to a standard and hold each other accountable. Second, create a father and son environment. All right, go camping, go rucksacking. You know what? My son and I used to do jujitsu. There's actually a jujitsu gym down the road from me, like literally down the street from me. And I forgot I want to say his name's Mike, Big Red Mike, right? He has a really long handlebar mustache. He's a UFC ref. He also did a couple episodes with me on the Mayans, the TV show, the spinoff.
Cool.
Him and I would go roll around on the mat over there. I would make my son come with me, and I made my son do jujitsu. He went to jujitsu 3 times a week, and it started with just me and him going there. I would go there every once in a while when my knee was all right, and I would just sit there and watch him the whole time if I wasn't on the mat with him. That was that father or son experience that was needed. Go take your son to the range, go teach him how to shoot a gun. That's some man shit right there. Survival weeks, or you know what you could do, dads? You could take yourself to Full Spectrum Warriors. That's right. This winter, the Full Spectrum Warriors have a winter program for you. Okay.
We're always doing things several times during a year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I should know, because if you need a Fauci free vaccine, you need to go to Full Spectrum Warriors.
Yes.
But third, have a code. This is not a frat house. There's no porn night. We are just we just don't get drunk and talk trash, as we have personalities. But this is a training ground. This is an institution where we forge your boys, that you either build the forge or you're going to watch the culture melt them down. So dads need to take an actionable, proactive role in this. If all your son is doing is playing video games and you see him not really doing anything active with other boys, then you need to create the environment for your son to have other male, camaraderie and activities together. Whether that is like what Thor used to do, throwing axes in the backyard. Sounds stupid, but it's a lot of fun. So that's what I got to say, Gia.
And for the women listening, like even if you're a wife, a mom, a girlfriend, like you're not going to be off the hook, because I have some solutions for you as well. Like stop sabotaging male spaces. Okay. If every time your husband says, "Hey, I'm going to go hang out with the boys," your first response is again, or you create whatever that may be turmoil, in his life to make it hard for him to meet up with the boys, like you're part of the problem. So if every time your son gets yelled at by a coach or a mentor, your first instinct is to rush in and rescue him, you're part of the problem. Instead of letting him feel the sting, letting him fall, get back up, learn from the lesson, you are getting involved, and that's literally cutting his legs out from under him. So two, and the next thing is encourage your man to mentor other young men. Okay. Us women, that's what we do. We support, we help our man. So encourage your man to get involved with other men. Tell him, "Hey, no, you need to go hang out with your boys. Hey, have you called your friend lately? Have you checked in with Cody down the street? What about his sons? You could really help out. You have so much skill, so much talent. Go for it. Encourage him, be there to support him." And this is not just for you. This is not just for him. This is for like your kids, your future, boys in the community that don't have a dad around, or whose dad are weak could really benefit from a strong male
Mhm.
figure. So if your husband or your boyfriend is a strong male figure, encourage him to get involved with those that aren't as fortunate. This is really, really important. And also, constantly encourage him verbally, right? Tell him
Mm.
how many things that he likes, even if it's the smallest thing, whether it may be just like what he's able to do outside. Tell him how good he's at it. Wow, you're really great at this. You should really do more of this. These kind of encouraging words makes him go, oh wow, she's really taking note of me. She really appreciates me. She really thinks what I'm doing is great. So the next one I would say is get honest about control issues.
Ooh.
I always
Ooh.
say this because as women, if we don't have our own self control, that means going to the gym. That means meal prepping, what goes in our mouth, how we speak. Okay. Because women, we win over men by staying silent. I know that sounds crazy to some of you all, but we win a man over with not a word. It's through our action, right? So if we have our own self control and discipline, then we're not going to have or feel the need to try to control our outside environment because then we know what's in our control, which is ourselves. We are in
Mhm.
control of ourselves. Then we know it doesn't matter what's going on around us. It doesn't matter about our environment. It doesn't matter about Joe Smo down the street or our husband or our boyfriend. It doesn't matter what they're doing. We're in control of us. We're not pointing
Mhm.
fingers. We're not blaming. We're not telling him he's not doing something because guess what? We can control our own actions. So control your own actions. Ask yourself, do I actually support male spaces or do I want every environment to be ran through me? Because if that is
Mm.
the case and you're answering yes, I need everything to be run through me. I need the decisions to go through me. Maybe the problem is you. Maybe you have some insecurity issues that you need to deal with. Yes, it's very, very true. I think the healthiest families I've ever seen, the wife is not trying to be a man's mother. Okay. Like I constantly say this to my girlfriends. I'm not his mom. I'm not gonna tell because girls will come to me all the time and be like, you allow him to do that? Like I'll hear this from women and I'll be like, I'm not
Hold
his
on, hold on,
mother.
hold on. What? They
Yeah,
said
you
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 allow?
allow him to do that. Like they will say that to me, and I will look at them and I will say, I'm not his mother. I don't tell him that's on him. If that's what he wants to do and that's what makes him happy, leave him be. Maybe you need to be looking at yourself, analyze your own self. Okay. Um, you know,
Mm.
he's the same thing. Like, I'm not going to be going to somebody else to get them to try to talk to my husband. That's another thing. A lot of women will do that. They'll go
Oh
to their
yeah.
pastor, they'll go to their girlfriend, they'll go to the dad, the mom. Oh, can you have a talk with him? No, no. Everything should be between you two. If you have anything that you need to say to him. Don't be referring out to somebody's authority. Another thing is the community, like, are
Mm.
you involved as a woman in your own community? Are you helping others? Or are you constantly trying to dictate other people in your circle what they should be doing? Maybe you should be getting out there, do some hobbies. I know I love roller skating. I love arts. I love singing. So that's my time to light up. Like I have my own things that light up my eyes. You need to get those, figure out what that is, get creative on that. And then I think the last thing I would say is just constantly understand how grateful, look at what you have, be grateful in what you have, and stop looking about what he's not doing.
Mm.
And always remember what he is doing. And that would be my last thing to help out ladies.
Yeah, you know what? And I got a message to the churches and the communities real quick. If the scouts do, end up drifting away from the Pentagon, and the Pentagon really does pull its funding, this is an opportunity. Okay, this is an opportunity
Mhm.
for people to fill it. And the churches, I remember the churches used to have what were they called? They were called like something warriors, like something little warriors club. And it was like the Christian version of the Boy Scouts, right?
Mhm.
And that's a perfect opportunity. And if these churches don't have it, the churches could start their own like boys brigade or man ran youth program that's actually masculine, right? Bring veterans in, right? First responders, tradesmen, strong dads, pour into boys. Like the churches have this in their community. Stop acting like the system is neutral and it's not. Every institution a boy touches is either terrified of masculinity or actively trying to nurture it.
Yeah.
You're going to lose the generation of men unless you deliberately, intentionally take action and counter the culture and start doing something to proactively support male spaces. You can't reclaim the culture of men if every pipeline into adulthood is now going to be genderless, you know? So here's the bottom line. Male spaces, they're not a luxury. They're a necessity. They're part of the infrastructure. Um, the fight over the scouts and the Pentagon, that is just a symptom of a much bigger problem. This is for the boys, for the men, and we're not here to apologize for that. Whether the Pentagon decides to make this a policy or not, if you're a father, mother, pastor, or any kind of leader in any young man's life, you cannot keep handing your son over to the system and expecting them to make them a man. No, that is embarrassing. That is embarrassed by their masculinity. What you need to do is make sure that your son becomes a man. That's your job as a parent. Fathers, your job as a father is to make sure that your boy becomes a man. That's not the coach's job. That's not the community's job. That ultimately, at the end of the day, is your job. And these are places that can assist you and help you make your boy to be a man, but you have to take the initiative. So this one's on us, gentlemen. We have to rise up and do something about this problem.
And ladies, if you really want strong, grounded, loving men, stop trying to colonize every male space, stop trying to smother every male bond, support the men in your life, have time for the other men who make them sharper, like encourage that, bless their brotherhood, bless the sons, the good man, like show them where they're appreciated. There are room you don't need to be in. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to be invited in everything. It's okay. Leave them be. And the man that you say that you want is built in those rooms with other men.
And then, ladies, let me just tell you something. There's definitely rooms that I don't want to be in. Okay. I know y'all nasty. Trust me. I do not want to be in a fly on the wall in some of these conversations. All right. And just food for thought, you don't want to be in ours either. Okay. Real bad. But put your thoughts in the comments. What would you do? Would you still put your son in the Scouting America? Or do you think that the Pentagon should cut ties or try to at least reform the relationship? And what real male spaces do you have in your life right now? Hit the subscribe, share this with your dad or anyone who needs it. And if you're watching this and you feel that itch, good. That's part of what you're supposed to be building something for the next generation, but you're not.
Thanks all for hanging with us. Men, build the spaces. More men focus spaces, and women, protect them, right? Leave them be, and you'll see us on the next one.
Yeah, you know what? Let me tell you about this one female